Eva.
Hi.
Hi. Is it Eva or Ava?
It's Eva. So
Eva.
the way I like to tell people is like Eva, like evil, but Eva.
Evil. Okay, I
Yeah,
like
my
that.
nickname is Evil Eva, which some people
Evil
think
Eva.
is negative. I think it's really cute. So
I think it's super cool. I don't even think it's cute. I think it's super badass.
I
We could
used
all
to
hope
like
to.
people used
Yeah.
to say Eva Knievel because like evil Knievel. So
Yeah. Which is really badass.
yeah.
That dude has broken every bone in his body.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I'm like, wow, I
If you
haven't
broke
broken a single bone, so I'm literally the opposite. I am Eva Knievel.
Eva Kaniva. You should go by Eva Kaniva. I mean, if you've broken every bone in your body and you're still alive, you're a fucking badass. Like, you know what I mean? I had never.
Sometimes this might be weird. Sometimes I'm like curious what that feels like. I'm like, what if I broke a bone? What does that feel like? It would be terrible, but I've
Yeah.
never broken one. I'm not a sports person. I never played on a sports team.
Yeah.
I just never broken one. I'm kind of I'm sort of an what do you call it, existentialist and a realist person.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that experience feel like?
Well, I had never broken a bone either, ever. And then I got in a car wreck when I was 19 and I broke my femur, which is like the largest bone in your body. Yeah, right. So I went from nothing to like the biggest.
Yeah, like
And
a ginormous one.
I tell it, I don't recommend it. I mean, it's not fun, you know.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like try that. And anyone
Yeah.
listening, please don't like break my
Yeah, no
finger or something.
shit.
I'm like curious if I could
Yeah.
like jump into like a virtual world and just quickly see what it felt like and then jump out of it and it not be
I
real.
I think you'd want to jump out of it really quickly. I mean, I 10 out of 10 don't recommend.
You know how they
Yeah.
have those things where I don't know if they still do it where men can feel what childbirth feels like because they, won't.
Oh.
Yeah, and so they're like,
Shit.
yeah, that's what I'm like. Can you just like set something else so we can see what it feels like and then like it's not
Mhm.
real though?
I think that's the true test of allyship. Like, oh, you're an ally, motherfucker? Step in this booth. That's where the ally stops.
Yeah.
Like, nah, man, I'll support in other ways, whatever. Well, anyway, hi. It's good to meet you.
Hello.
You and I had never met, and honestly, I was not familiar with the band until Joseph Plummer, our producer here, and also the host of the Tour Stories podcast, and the drummer extraordinaire, Mr. Joseph Plummer, put you guys on my radar. And then I started researching. I was like, oh, this is amazing, and this person is great, and wanted to talk to you because you're exactly the person, the type of person that I want to have on our
That's
podcast.
so cool. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
And Joe
Absolutely.
was like a delight. That was my first time really meeting him was through the
Yeah.
podcast. I knew who he was, but I was like, oh, this guy's cool.
He's so cool. He's so Seattle centric too. And I get to meet a lot of people from Seattle that I didn't meet otherwise because, through Joe and yourself included. And so we'll get into a bunch of nerdy guitar dorky shit if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay. So like, when did oh, and by the way, for those that don't know, my guest is Eva Walker. Eva has a band called the Black Tones, and you guys are about to go on tour with Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, and with Surfboard, who are some of my very, very close friends. And Me First are some of my very, very close friends as well. So it's just a big bro tour. I'm going to try to come out and see it myself. When does that tour actually start?
So our first show is actually September 26th in Salt Lake City. So we're going to leave on the 25th, give ourselves a day to get there and hang out. And dude, this is our first national tour. And this is the longest I've ever been gone from home ever. I mean, we've taken family vacations, but I've never been gone for 5 weeks for any reason.
That's one of those be careful what you wish for things with touring. I remember, I've been doing this my whole natural adult life. And I remember that when, you actually get an itinerary and it's something like that, you're staring down the barrel of being gone this, a very large amount of time. I used to liken it to where you would leave and then you would come home and there was a building there that wasn't there when you left. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like a receipt that you were fucking gone for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing because you start having respect for every band. I found myself never saying that any band sucked after that. No matter if I like their music or not, I never said, oh, they suck. Because it's like, man, this is work just like anything else. The shit's hard. And if you're able to go and do it and consistently do it and keep doing it, well, it's a feat, it's something to be admired.
Absolutely. And it was one of those things where I was like, this is really long, but I mean, we got to do this at least one time. We got to experience it. Of course, I hope there's more, but we have to experience it. Like, I don't want to be on my deathbed. I'm like, damn, I should have tried that 5-week tour.
I'm so stoked for you. I'm so it's inspiring. It's you guys are a great band, and I think everybody should see you.
Thank you.
Oh, you bet. But also, it's like you're on this precipice of your entire career, which, I don't know you, but I would imagine this is something that you've really wanted to do with your life, and that this is the sort of all your hard work is paid off. You've got this offering, you're going to go do it. It becomes addictive. It becomes, this is unsolicited advice, which
I want it. Give it to me, please.
it's like getting a tattoo. You know how you're getting a tattoo? I don't know if you have tattoos, but if you
I do.
Well, they hurt. Yeah, they hurt, and you're like. And then you're like, okay, and while you're getting it, like, oh, I never want to do this again. And then you really can't wait to do it again. It's like that. It becomes that thing where this is almost a blessing and a curse, because you get home and the only thing you want to do while you're out there is you want to get home. And then you get home, and I mean, within a day or two, you just start like, really desiring to be back.
Wow.
Your body starts like, wanting to be on stage at 9 or 10 every night you were supposed to be,
yeah,
your sleep patterns it's a real weird thing. You start, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. It happens. And it's happened for me my entire life.
Yeah.
I don't know how long I'm home. The pandemic was the longest for a lot of musicians. I'm not special, but it was the longest I'd ever been home. My entire adult life.
What's the longest you've been out at one time?
3 months at once. Yeah, it sucks.
Back to back, like.
Yeah, just gone.
Wow.
Just gone. And that was with Guar. I was in Guar, and that was 3 months of Guar show. So I was wearing a 60-pound fucking rubber monster costume.
Yeah.
So that was a lot.
Wow.
And Rise Against just did almost 3 months. I mean, we just did 5 weeks. We were home for 12 days, and then we were out for 5 weeks. So we did Europe for 5 weeks, and then we did the States for 5 weeks. And we, our band, we don't do that anymore. We've only used to do that, and now, but because of COVID, everything just kind of backed up, and then we went out and did it all. But yeah, I mean, that's when it's a lot. That's when it's. Even for a guy like me that's been doing this all life, it's like 3 months is a fucking long time.
Yeah, that's so long. Wow.
That's a long time.
Well, after the 3 months were you like, now I'm interviewing you. After the 3 months were you like, I got to go back out? Or was it kind of like, that was a little long?
No, it took about a week. But after about a week, I was just like, I felt like there was something I needed to be doing. I felt like, because there's so much out there, there's so much to do and to be done. There's not a dull moment. There's not a relaxing moment. There's not you can, but there's usually something that needs to be done at every second. Yeah. And the type of person I am, I don't know what right brain, left brain that is, but I respond really well to that. I like having, a goal to achieve constantly. Yeah. I don't relax. I don't sit still. That's just who I am. And the touring life definitely satisfies and scratches all that urge. And so it's really been the thing that I was that type of person anyway, but I also just, it worked. It clicked with the way my body works,
Yeah.
And normal life just doesn't work like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, was there like that thing you clinged onto that like you have in life that made you go like, I can do this on the road and be gone this long if I have this. Like I'm very like my family's coming with me. If I can watch The Twilight Zone, great. Right. Like I don't do any drugs. I don't drink. I'm kind of boring actually.
I am too.
Except for on stage.
Yeah. I don't drink or smoke or do drugs. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that like keeps you kind of like makes it so you can be gone 3 months, like.
I think it's important to keep as many creature comforts, to have your sort of structure, no matter what time zone you're in, to sort of
and other than like the love of music, because we both love music.
Absolutely.
That's why we would do
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. But the other, however many, I think that is important to check back in with those things, whether that be, okay, every day I need to do this. I need to walk, or I need to go see an art museum, or I need to watch my shows at whatever time, any way to sort of tap back into who you are at home, because that's coming, inevitably that's going to happen again. And I found that there are those two dualities. There are the person you are when you're out and the person you are when you're home. And life does screech, to a halt when you get back home. And so you don't get sort of proverbial whiplash on both ends of the spectrum, coming or going. It is good to sort of check in with what are the things that I do that makes me happy. I'm very bad with my boundaries too. And I go out there and I want to be a people pleaser and have fun with everybody and like, fuck it, let's go do all this fun shit, and not sort of check in with who I am when I'm home, which is I like to take long walks and I like to go and to a coffee shop and read and all that shit. So I do try to do as much of those things as when I'm gone, and you should as well,
Yeah, for sure.
But it's going to be a lot. It's your first time. I mean,
I know. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm just like, can I ask you all the questions, Zach? I really want all your experience, and I want all the. I'm going to tell you what I told Joe after the podcast. Like, be in touch and let me like message you and be like, hey,
please do.
I need advice.
Well, and fortunately, you're going to be out there with a lot of people that are so sweet, so kind, and so generous with their time, and have really done this for a long time. Sean in Surfboard, he was in a band called the Fuck Emos here in Austin that were fantastic. He's done a lot of touring. Anybody that's in Me First Think Make Games, I think Me First's bass player on this tour you're about to do is CJ fucking Ramone, an actual Ramone.
Whoa.
I know. So befriend that guy. And I mean, he's going to have tons of stories. All of those guys, whoever's going to be on that stage has, combined 1,000 years of touring, and everybody will be able to talk to you about, because there's, there's just things you do and you don't do and ways to do things. And, to the point of like, are you guys in a van? Are you going to be in a van on this tour?
Yeah, we're going to have like a giant Sprinter, 12 passenger vehicle, which we're going to take some seats out for leg room.
There you go. That's how you do it. And, just if you're following a bus, your van's following a bus, you're going to have to leave at certain times because you got to do that math. This is going to be a 17-hour drive. They're going to sleep overnight. We can't do that. We're going to have to drive this amount. And, it's just trial and error and fucking up, and just like anything
Absolutely.
else. Yeah.
And that's when I call you guys, say, help.
I'm envious though. I'm really envious because I tell you something, those van days, and, I was in a van and in a trailer a lot longer than I've been in a bus. I mean, Rise has of course been in a bus for a long time, but all of us had been touring since the early 90s. So, it was a lot. And so there's differences, of course, but it's still the toll it takes is the travel,
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get paid. I feel like I don't get paid to play. This isn't all that saying, but I don't get paid to play. I get paid to do the traveling, because that's a lot. That will wear on your body if you don't keep your brain healthy. It's a lot. It's a toll.
Absolutely.
I would take it that you guys are friends in your band, pretty close.
Oh man, what's even better is we're mostly family. So my twin brother is the drummer. I taught him drums years ago when we started the band together. And
I did not know that.
My mom is a retired educator, and I have her do backup vocals just so she has a blast. She loves it. And
so
then
she's going on tour?
Oh yeah, I'm taking her. I'm very I'm very protective of her and very close to her. That I'm like, you're not gonna be at home by yourself for 5 weeks. Like, we already live like 7 minutes from each other. I'm like, I'm not leaving you for 5 weeks. That's crazy. You're coming with us. And then my husband sits in on bass sometimes, but also we have another bass player who's the only one not related, but my mom has like claimed him as her other son. So we're all pretty much family.
So that's who's doing the tour. No one else?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God.
It's pretty much a family thing, which I love.
I love that too.
Dude, I grew up in a house with like 7 people, 3 bedrooms, and like 1 bathroom. Like, I grew up sharing a room with my mom and my sister.
Oh my
God. Like, we were all like really close. I'm a really big family person, and we all ended up living together because my dad was a bank robber, and so my dad like had to go off to prison, and then my mom had to move back in with her parents, and it was like 7 of us in one house. And I was 2 years old when my dad was a bank robber, so I didn't know what was going on. But my only like memories like growing up with my grandparents and my mom, and all of us really close, and I was like, that's normal for families, right? Yeah. Then I hear people later like, you're close to your grandparents? Like, what? You hang out with your mom? What? I'm like, yeah, don't you guys hang out with your mom on Friday night? That's just me? Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. Eva, this is blowing me away. I've never heard of a family touring together. I'm so into that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because ostensibly your band becomes your family anyway. I know these guys and the guys in Rise Against, or the guys, like family. And to an extent, I started my career with my brother. My brother is a bass player.
That's so
cool. We had a band called Hagfish in the 90s, and we toured all through the 90s, and that was my musical start. So I always had my brother with me. And then him and I had a band called Only Crime together that toured with Rise Against, and I joined Rise Against, blah, blah, blah. So now we don't play together, but we did for a long time. So I do know to a certain extent, but not, it's your husband and your mom and your brother. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I kind of told my brother years ago that I wasn't sure if I could do something like this to this extent with just friends, because I was really socially awkward and it was hard for me to like be relaxed around people. Yeah. So it just happened to, I started the band first with my brother. And so it's just kind of been really family oriented ever since. But I mean, now that I'm like 33 and like, I can talk to people now. If we weren't in the band, like I probably could do it with friends, but I really like it with family.
Yeah.
I really prefer it that way.
Wow. I'm blown away. That's amazing. Well, that brings me to I guess my first question. How did you pick up guitar and start playing guitar in the first place?
Yeah. So I had been wanting to play guitar for a while, but we didn't have any around the house or anything. Yeah. And I did the thing that now I realize a lot of people did, where they put rubber bands on books and pretended that was the guitar. I did that whole thing. Yeah. I remember I thought it was so unique. I'm like, oh, everybody did that who couldn't afford guitars. But it wasn't until I was in high school and like a teacher had a bunch of guitars in his room. And I was like, whoa, like, do you let students play these? And he was like, yeah. Do you want to take one home for the Thanksgiving break? I was like, yeah, wow. Yeah. And so he packed one up for me, and then he told me, remember these numbers, 0530. I was like, all right. And then he explained, the fretboard and all that, how that worked. And when I got home, I played 0530 on the E string, and it was dum 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 dum. So it was like the blues was like the first thing I learned on guitar. Right. And when I started teaching guitar, that was the first thing I would teach any student who was brand new to guitar.
Genius.
Which I was like, now like 5,000 songs.
Right. It's true. I mean, it's true.
Yeah. So that was like my first introduction to actually physically holding a guitar, and I fell in love with it. And high school was the time too where I was getting into classic rock music. Right. So my friends introduced me to music of like Led Zeppelin, which blew my freaking mind. Yeah. And then I don't remember who got me hip to Jimi Hendrix, or if that was just by accident, but that like changed my life, because before then I didn't see a lot of like Black people rocking out on guitar. Like, I saw like Earth, Wind and Fire and like a lot of like stuff like that. But like I got like rah, like making really a bunch of feedback and all that stuff. And I was like, whoa, because I remember in high school when I had my guitar, some kid on the bus was like, Black people don't play guitar. And I thought he was right, because when you grow up watching MTV and you don't like see that stuff a whole lot, you see Hendrix later, and then before that you saw like Lenny Kravitz maybe, and stuff like that. But I was like, damn, is he right? I hope he's not right, because I really like this instrument, and my race shouldn't have anything to do with it.
Was he a white kid?
No. Do you want to hear the sad thing about it?
What's that?
It was a Black girl.
Oh no.
But it's because she was like me and just didn't see it. Right. And I was like super embarrassed. But like the kids agreed, but she was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, now I'm like, oh my God, we didn't see it. We didn't see this happening, but I was so embarrassed.
but that's what's so genius about, I mean, not genius, it hates to put so many superlatives on the fact that you are just a person that wants to play guitar.
Yeah.
However, there is such a cultural weight on you for being a female, a person of color, playing aggressive, loud rock guitar music. You know, you're just a person at heart that just wants to play loud rock aggressive guitar music. But you are representing something that, you know, that girl that told you that, if she had seen you in the first place, then she would never have said that. And now you are going to be that for so many other girls. I just think that's genius.
Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And you know,
and it's the truth.
When I saw Jimi Hendrix, I was like, Black people do play guitar. And then I was like, I'm doing it. Yay. So I did it.
That's what's so also with, you know, the Bad Brains. They not, you know, they went.
See, I didn't know about them.
Yeah.
I didn't know about them.
And the Bad Brains come along and they're the world's greatest hardcore band. And it's 4 black guys and all the racist white skinheads and all that shit are just like, oh, fuck, you know.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, if I made a skinhead mad doing this, I did something right. But see, I wasn't hip to like Living Color yet and like Bad Brains. And I wasn't hip to Fishbone yet either. And so it wasn't like they weren't out there existing already, but there weren't as many, therefore, you know, there wasn't as much, I wasn't going to run into it very often. And I just, you know, I didn't see a lot of that stuff at all. And I got hip to it later.
There was a great era and renaissance of like black rock guitars. And it was around the Living Color era. And I loved Living Color. There was a band called 24/7 Spies. There was a band called Follow for Now. And then there was a band called Lock Up, which was Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, his first band. And they were all similar to that Living Color thing where they were doing metal and funk and, you know, hip hop and punk and hardcore music. And it was all this amalgam of, and it was such a great, I don't know what happened to most of those bands. I mean, I know Tom ended up in Rage Against the Machine, so he did that. But most of the bands were predominantly black guys that were just taking it back and just saying, you know, yeah, black guys do play guitar and they do it like this. And shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And actually my first rock hero, because when I was younger, I was watching whatever my siblings were watching on MTV. My first like rock hero was Alanis Morissette. I just thought she was like awesome. And I liked that she played harmonica and that she kind of yodeled sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, like Jagged Little Pill was like my first like record I bought with my own money. I bought it on a cassette tape. And then like Hendrix came later. So then I had like first the female thing, then I had the black thing. And then in high school, I was just really into that whole British invasion thing. Like I love Zeppelin, the Stones, and it's like, who cares what color anyone, like those people made really great music.
For sure.
And like I got really into Pink Floyd. My God, got into Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And was just like, I mean, consuming this stuff and so, I mean, those were also, I was also glad they existed because they were a big influence on a lot of the music I make. And I love the Doors. It's funny, the older I've gotten, the less Doors fans I'm meeting for some reason. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's a bit of an anomaly to be a Doors fan. It's like, you know, everybody's.
I love them.
Yeah, I love the Doors as well. My dad, fortunately, I've said it 1,000 times, was a classic rock DJ. So his record collection was amazing and expansive, but everything, you know, from the Nuggets era, garage rock of the 60s to like, you know, the bigger stuff and everything. So I was into all of those bands. I still am, you know, it's still hugely influential. So who are your guitar? I mean, I know we've covered Hendrix, but who are your other guitar influences, maybe current or even past?
Oh boy. Well, one current one for sure is Jimmy James from the True Loves and the Delvon Lamar Organ Trio. He's from Seattle.
Okay. I've heard of the trio. Yes, I have heard of them. Yeah.
He's one of my favorites, and he's also become one of my really good friends. But he's definitely my more recent influence.
Okay.
But definitely, Hendrix, of course. But you know, David Gilmour, just. I think the guitar solo in Time is one of the best guitar solos I've ever heard.
Ever. You know, I was impressed with the Guitar World magazine because they did the like 100 greatest guitar solos of all time. David Gilmour's was number 1. But he also had like a few, like 3 others. And it was for his sort of lyrical singing, soaring leads. They weren't, you know, David Gilmour doesn't do shredder leads.
Yeah.
But all of his leads are a piece of music inside the already existing piece of music that you can hum. And that's to me, the hallmark of a great guitar solo.
Yes.
Right.
God, you're a genius. I love talking to you. Yes.
Let's keep going. I'll take that. But if you can hum a guitar solo, then your work is done. That's the hallmark of a great guitar solo. And that's all Gilmour ever did, I thought. And for Guitar World magazine to name him the top, I think it was maybe the Comfortably Numb solo was their number one guitar solo of all time. And it is the best solo of ever. And I was super impressed because I thought it was going to be like Steve Vai or Eddie Van Halen or somebody like that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you about Gilmour. Jesus Christ.
Yowzers, you nailed it. Yeah. Like you nailed it. Exactly. And I wouldn't dare compare myself to David Gilmour, but I've had people, but I'm glad that people hear because that influence is there. Because members of Fishbone have told me, other people have told me, like, you make the guitar sing. And I'm like, yeah, because I can't shred. I physically cannot shred. I'm not a technically great guitar player. I play what I like. I play what I think sounds really good. I'm not done learning or anything. I'm not stubborn in that way. But they're like, it's singing. It's got its own. And I said in interviews, like our song, The Key of Black, I'm like, it's got its own lyrics, like that's, it's the singer of the song. And that's what I love so much about David Gilmour. And you just took the freaking words out of my brain.
Thank you. I've had a long time to think about this shit.
Yeah, it's so great. I was like, wow.
And considering it's all I've ever thought about and all I do think about, it's that too. So as an adult, I'm pretty stunted, but I got this shit figured out, or sort of. But Angus Young's the same way. I mean, in his own Angus Young major minor key, pentatonic thing, it's you can hum his guitar solos. And I think staying away from shredding and sweeping arpeggios and stuff, who can hum that, of course, when you start doing that, it is pretty much just to show that, hey, I can do this. Now, if it does serve the song, if it's a really fast song or it's thrash metal, whatever, well, there's a way to sort of musically go in and out of that as well and go, hey, I can do this little thing, but you can hum this thing that I'm doing as well.
Absolutely. Because I mean, I love Van Halen and stuff like that.
But you can hum his solos. You can hum
That's true. Yeah. And some of them just like, yeah, shred. I don't even want to think about what's going on. I just finished working.
Right. Exactly.
But I absolutely agree with you. My goodness.
Good. Yeah.
You've articulated the way I've been trying to figure out how to articulate for like 15 years.
Good. I'm glad I could help. So there's you guys. Well, it looks like from what I've researched with you guys are a fairly new band, so it's hard to it was hard to find information out about you. Like, I didn't know your drummer was your brother. That blows me away. That's amazing. And I love that. I love siblings in bands because I successfully did it. And there's a lot of bands don't successfully do it. They have that dynamic and that weird thing. And my brother and I were always best friends, still are. He plays bass in the band The Toadies. That's what he does now for a living. And,
nice.
And they tour a lot and do the same thing. But what I was going to say is it looks like maybe your love of Hendrix also influenced and Gilmour influenced your gear choices. Are you like a Fender person?
Oh yeah. I still use the same guitar I bought when I was 17. I bought it with my own money after a summer job. And I was like, I'm going to get a guitar like Hendrix because I have to. There's no other guitar I could play. Still very inexperienced, but was like, I can't play any other guitar. But fell in love with Fender and have been in love with Fender ever since. So yeah, I play my Stratocaster, my cream white Stratocaster. And I named it Ruth, which was my grandmother's middle name. Her first name was Eva. And I was like, I can't name it that. People are going to think I'm naming my fucking guitar after myself. So I used her middle name.
That's so cool. I noticed it also has the humbucker and the bridge position. Yes. So that gives you tonality of different sort of tonal landscape, which is good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
So amp wise, are you Fender amps? Are you Marshalls? What do you do?
I like Fender amps. I don't actually use them very much. Not because I don't want to. I just I'm really cheap, and so usually if I find a deal first, I just kind of get an amp. I actually just purchased, I think it's Fender, my first ever Fender one. I think I'm taking on tour. I think I have to look at it now. I think it's Fender, but I've been using an orange Tiny Terror, and I've been connecting it to this my speaker is like some vintage 70s rare speaker that someone just made me hip to that. I'm like, well, shit, now I can't use it anymore because I'm afraid I'm going to destroy it. Yeah. But the speaker was, I bought it used, and it's, I don't know, it's like a gajillion years old, and someone just got me hip to how rare it is. So I got to change that up.
It's your cabinet. So is it, do you know how many speakers are inside the cabinet?
Just one.
It's just one. So it's like
a
112.
It's just one.
Oh,
it's
wow.
from like the 70s or something.
Oh,
and a few different sound guys were like, that's cool. And I was like, don't tell me that.
Yeah, I'm
scared. Something now is going to go wrong because you're telling me it's special.
Well, I wish I could see it. I want to look at all your videos and find out what it is.
I know.
The orange Tiny Terrors, those are good amps. The orange stuff is really good. So are you pedals? Do you do pedals?
Yeah, so I do. It's really minimum. So I want to be vulnerable with my guitar playing. So I don't. Not that I'm against a bunch of really cool effects, but I'm just kind of like I play rock and roll music. Mm-hmm. I don't need a whole lot of stuff going on. So I pretty much just have. I'll use I'll get the distortion sound out of the amp, and then use my wah pedal.
Okay.
For solos.
Sure.
And then I got a reverb pedal. It's called a Cathedral.
Yeah.
And what the sound I like to get out of the Cathedral pedal is I was watching this open mic years ago, and this guy was playing, and I went up to him. I was like, you sound like you're playing in a tiled bathroom, and I love that sound.
Yeah. How are you doing that?
How are you doing that?
Yeah.
So I went and so I was looking for a pedal and I was like, it just needs to sound like I'm playing in the bathroom. That's all. I need a bathroom sound. And a friend of mine who used to play in a band called the Voodoos, actually, and his dad's actually, or his father-in-law is the lead singer of Queensryche. Wow.
Oh,
and so he knows a lot about shit.
The current singer of Queensryche.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what's his name?
Or Jeff Tate.
Jeff Tate is his father-in-law.
Okay, so Jeff Tate was the original. Okay, so that's See, I'm Eva. I am a dork when it comes to rock and metal and shit. So like, don't get me started. Go. Sorry.
I love that. So he helped me find this bathroom sound I was looking for.
I love that. Bathroom sound.
Yeah. And so for anyone that's listening, if you want the right bathroom sound, you got to imagine the tile bathroom where the sound just bounces off kind of quickly and it doesn't go too far. It's not like, wow.
Right.
Wow. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I got that sound with this Cathedral pedal. Yeah, exactly. And so, and it's not a very big bathroom.
No, it's not a very big bathroom.
It's not a very big bathroom. It's like, I kind of emulated after my grandmother's bathroom I grew up in. So, those are pretty, and then the tuner pedal, my friend who helped me find the pedal, him and his wife gifted me, just like a tuner pedal. And then I just started incorporating an OCD pedal because, when I realize when I have to do shows and they're like, hey, can you use our backline? I'm like, oh, and then there's no distortion. I started incorporating an OCD pedal so I can just bring pedals and use whatever amp I need to use.
The OCDs are great. I love the OCDs.
I like them. And I have OCD, dude. So that was like kind of how I picked it because I don't know shit about pedals. But I was like, oh, I got that disorder. I'm going to see what the fuck that sounds like. It works awesome.
We smell our own, my friend. I share that particular disorder with you. And the Electro-Harmonix Cathedral, correct? It's the Electro-Harmonix mix? Yes, okay. Yeah.
That's it. It's like blue and purple. It's cool.
Yeah. The Electro-Harmonix is good stuff. So your Crybabies are just a regular Jim Dunlop Crybaby?
Yeah.
Okay. It says Crybaby on it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Jim Dunlop, the reason I ask is because Jim Dunlop and MXR sponsor our show. So shouts
not that they can see me, I'm waving.
Hey. Shouts out. Yeah. Well, good. Okay. Well, that's a simple pedal board, and that's all you need. Simple. A reverb, a boost, a Crybaby, a tuner.
My friend gifted me a pedal board, and I thought I would fill it up, and I was like, I have not filled this up yet. He gave it to me like 4 years ago, and I was like, I still don't use it.
You don't need much more. I'm telling you, I don't have much more even for what I do. I have a very simple small pedal board. I like looking up other like guitar players pedal boards, and like Zach Wild, same thing, 4 pedals in front of him. Yngwie Malmsteen has like 5 pedals in front of him. Tom Morello, he has a few, but it's the pedal board and the pedals that he bought in high school. And he has his guitar, his pedal board, his amp, the same stuff he used back then. And he was like, he just stopped. He's like, I'm going to make everything happen with this rig. And he reinvented guitar player. So
yeah,
I think it's the player.
Because sometimes I feel stupid. I'm like, I walk in, I'm like, oh, look at these guys with all these like stuff. I need to like up my game. But then I'm like, but I also really like myself.
You like what you do. Because, I mean, we're also usually using like 20% of what any pedal can do. So, I'm a big proponent and fan of like, well, let's just explore what I have and see what else I can do.
That's a good point.
With that. And people try to talk me into more shit all the time. And ostensibly, if I went to different shit for what we do on the it probably would be easier. And I just like my sort of Luddite Cro-Magnon approach to things. But anyway,
awesome.
Well, and so do you have a backup guitar? Or is it just the Strat?
So, oh man, well, I hope they aren't listening, but I've been borrowing a Gibson from the Gibson showroom for like, I don't know, 4 years now.
Oh yeah,
and I haven't given it back yet because they haven't asked for it back. So I'll use that one.
What is?
They let me.
It?
Oh God. Oh God. Of course you were gonna ask me that, and I don't remember what it is. It's beautiful.
I kind of love that you don't know. I that's kind of amazing too.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
I know, it's okay.
It's a good one, and it's red, and they let me borrow it when we opened for Weezer because I was like, cool, I have a cool show that they will let me take a guitar for.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the backup one.
Okay.
For tour, it's really great because people like you and like Joe who are like willing to just be like super amazing and give us advice and help us out. For tour, I'll be a little bit more prepared because Mike McCready is in like, tour dad mode, and I love it. And he's giving me all this stuff to take with me. And so I'll have a Fender amp, and I think he's going to loan me another Fender. He goes, you need another guitar. He knows this is my first tour too. He goes, I have a bunch of strings for you. Well, I don't change strings as often as I should. But I'm starting to do like, cause I like what he does. He's like rubbing his guitar on stuff, and he's like and so I'm starting to do that more because I'm like, oh, Mike is so cool, I want to do that. And it's a good thing he's giving me all these strings because I'm going to destroy this thing.
What a guitar hero that guy is. I don't know him personally. I'd love to meet him. I love that band. I love him as a player. Yeah,
and he's very supportive of the local musicians up
That's
here.
amazing.
And I really appreciate him. And like I said, he's sending me out on tour with like extra gear just in case anything happens, and it's just been very supportive.
That's the real guy, That's the real deal. Somebody that uses their powers for good and not evil.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to be like that, like successful and a nice person. I mean, I feel like I got the nice person down already.
Me too.
I'm still working on the, making enough money, making music thing, but I'm like, I got half of it down.
Yeah. Well, and that warms my heart, and I think for any musician, quote unquote, using your powers for good is paying it forward, and is you got there to a certain extent yourself, and you are this person that's known, and you're from playing music and doing stuff, and to go back to the scene that birthed you essentially, and to give back and to help out. I love that. I love hearing that.
There's a lot of that here in Seattle. It's pretty great. Like we do this mashup concert every once in a while, or actually I think it's almost every year, where we raise money for like musicians' healthcare, and like these all-star musicians are like always saying yes, and they collaborate with us. Like Dave Matthews has done it. Pearl Jam folks usually always do it. Some Soundgarden folks do it. Like it's pretty amazing. And they're just and Ben Gibbard from Death Cab, I mean, he said this in an interview because like our big newspaper did a whole story about like how we all the indies and the like the Hall of Famers are all like working together, and Ben Gibbard's like, in Seattle, like, you need to put your diva shit to the side. Like no one cares about that. So we're all like in this to like make music and get along and help each other out. And it's really been like that over here. When we went on our the first biggest tour we went on was our West Coast tour, and we were gone for like a week, And like Matt Cameron like sends me a text. He goes, "How's it going? I'm just thinking of you guys. Are you doing okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're doing good. Thanks, Matt." Well, and there's no like, there's nothing. It's not weird. It's not. I don't feel like a charity. Like there's just, hey, we're friends and we live in the city together and we all create, and that's what it is. It's so great. And I love that about Seattle.
Well, for those guys, they were just musicians playing in bands just like you, and then your city got signed. The whole scene got signed. Yeah. And as blowback from that, I was living in Dallas at the time. Entire cities got signed because of Seattle. Like my band got signed to a major label because every band in Dallas got signed to a major label. And so for those guys, that was a growing pain whiplash that sort of they probably never got over. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. Those guys are some of the biggest rock stars in the world, but they still have time to text Eva Walker on her first van tour and go, "Hey, how you doing?" Because he's still that guy in his head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, Barrett Martin from Screaming Trees said the exact same thing. He's like, "Eva, because I was like, you guys are just so nice and so supportive. Like, why?"
Wow. Right.
And Barrett's like, "Eva, we've all been there. We've all have been there. And, you guys are next, we want to help out." And it's just beautiful. And when you're like that with someone, it makes the next group of people want to do that for the next group of people. Like I want to do that for other musicians. Absolutely. And like I already, with my radio show and the things that I do, I'm like, how can I help? Or if we play big shows, then I usually am finding an artist who I want to bring on stage and feature on the song. And it's like this, I don't know if butterfly effect, snowball, I don't know. There's this effect. It's like you want to keep doing that because it's been done to you.
It's cyclical, yeah,
exactly.
And it's about not forgetting that you were that person.
Yes.
And I mean, this industry and this business,
being a diva is not sustainable.
No, it's true, man. And unfortunately, this business and this industry and now social media and everything, I think it's sort of in vogue in a weird way, or sort of celebrated to grow bigger than you are, for your personality and your ego to be outsized. That's celebrated nowadays, for somebody to have an ego and to basically be a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
That's more celebrated than being a humble, good person that wears their heart on their shirt sleeves and helps people out. And that's a travesty. I think that's awful.
Yeah. I'm just so thankful for the Seattle music community, from my peers to the making it there, to the Hall of Famers. Everyone's just like, what? There's no levels here. We're just hanging and we're just making music. Fuck everything else.
That's amazing. When I heard that Mark Arm from Mudhoney works at Sub Pop, I think that was that in a nutshell, because I love Mudhoney and I've always loved Mark Arm, everything he's done. And I heard he was the guy that works at Sub. I was like, well, that makes sense because it's Seattle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no egos there. There's no. It's just guys still making music.
We're we're stuck in this fucking corner of the country. We're just like, all right, let's just return to our corner and hang out.
I've been playing there almost 30 years and it's always been great. I always love playing there. I always feel like at home there. I love that place. I really do. And I played a lot of places there, like every club that's now closed and every,
Yeah.
So have you, on to back to the gear, because I'm a dork. Have you ever lost anything that you lament, that you wish like got stolen, got lost? You obviously still have your first guitar, which is great, but anything else?
I feel like if I answer that, it might happen on tour.
Yeah, that's true.
It has not happened.
Hasn't happened? Okay, knock wood.
Yeah, I mean, like a power supply here and there doesn't really count. No, I haven't. My brother has forgotten quite a few things with pieces of a drum kit.
Okay, right. Well, there's a lot of pieces there.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces there, exactly. And I used to be a drummer, and I'm like, I didn't lose things very often.
Right.
But no, and I'm really, I don't know, are we allowed to say anal anymore? I'm really,
absolutely. Go for
we
it.
Are? Okay. I didn't, I don't know. I'm like super anal on like checking things and keeping my eye on everything. And I bring my guitar with me everywhere. If we're sitting in a restaurant, like, well, the guitar needs a chair.
Right.
I'm very possessive about the gear and keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
On our West Coast tour, I was like, hey guys, this is our first like big tour for us. this is gonna suck, but every night we have to haul this shit out of the van and bring it into the hotel room. And we're gonna do the exact same thing on this big tour. Like, it's gonna suck, but we're gonna be really happy that nothing's missing. And also I'm gonna have some of Mike's shit. Like, we gotta make sure we don't have any of this stuff go missing. So it is.
That's a great policy. I mean, I a lot of bands I've been in have had that policy. You know, sometimes there's the old, you back the trailer up against a wall. Like if you find a wall, like, you know, where a dumpster enclosure or whatever, and then take the trailer off and then back the van up, butt it up to the trailer. There's always that.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, there's that. Again, you know, fucking long time doing it. But, and thankfully, we had a van broken into one time, but they only stole like leather jackets, which is real. No
was
gear.
The gear in there? I was gonna say, was
gear was in there? Gear was in the trailer. They didn't do that. But trailers are so easy to steal. You know, they could just take the thing and put it and then drive away. And there's been huge stings. Like I remember in Houston, Texas, they eventually caught him, but there was a warehouse outside of Houston full of stolen gear. They were just taking bands with trucks, trailers that were just getting stolen for years, and they couldn't figure out who did it. I know, and it always breaks my heart because that's somebody's entire world. You know, it's their livelihood. It's the worst.
Yeah, there's like and one of the things that made us, you know, really kind of follow that policy was there's apparently, I guess, epidemic might be the right word, of people stealing gear out of people's car in San Francisco. Like apparently it's really, really bad there.
Wow.
And it's gotten worse. And so we were well, let's just make this the habit the whole tour. But I don't know, San Francisco, if you're listening, I don't know what that's all about. I hope that gets solved.
Well, good luck over there. So I would guess you'd probably say the most thing you're looking forward to right now is getting out on tour and doing your thing, right?
Yeah, traveling and playing in different places to see how else people outside of the Northwest and California will respond to this.
Yeah. Well, you're going on a great tour and a bunch of great folks. That's going to be so much fun. Is there anything else after that? Anything plans? Any releases coming out?
We are definitely, going to be recording some music. It's one of those things where, we'll probably be putting out some singles here and there, but I'm really, I'm not fast with albums. I'm kind of like, it's gotta make sense before I put a whole album out. Like I gotta really, like you can write a bunch of chapters of a book, but just because you got a bunch of different chapters written, you're not just gonna be like, well, okay, here's a book. Like it's gotta, like the book's gotta make sense. The album's gotta make sense. So there'll be more singles before. When people ask me when the next album's coming out, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There'll be music, but I don't know when the next album's coming out.
That's a good idea. That's a good answer, actually. And who puts your records out? Do you guys self-release? Who puts your stuff out?
We have one debut record, and we put that out. That's one full length, and we put that out independently. Our record Cobain and Cornbread, and then we've had 2 7-inches. One released through Mike McCready, called the Devil and His Grandmother. I named that after a Grimm fairy tale. And then the second one was the Sub Pop. The most recent one was the Sub Pop release for the Singles Club, which is the end of everything. Yeah.
Awesome. I love the Cobain and Cornbread. That's the story.
Oh man, when people would ask us like, what do you guys sound like? This question. What's your sound? What's your band sound like? And we're like, I don't know, we're like a combination of Kurt Cobain and Cornbread. Because me and my siblings were first generation Seattleites, but my mom and everyone's from Louisiana, so we had a lot of Southern influence too. So I was just like, we were wearing flannel while eating gumbo and headbanging, eating red beans and rice. It's really the best of both worlds because the Northwest is gorgeous. Southerners were better cooks.
No, right. Yeah, I mean,
I was real spoiled in that sense.
And your weather is also, I don't know. I mean, rainy and overcast and stuff, but at least with the summers, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I'm born and raised in Texas, and I still live here, and every summer I'm like, why the fuck do I live here? Anyway. Well,
but Eva, we're starting to get that smoke thing, man. We're trying to.
That's right.
It was better this year. It's not so bad. There's a little bit today, but we need to work on that because that's going to start being a part of our summers if we don't fix that.
Well, I think everybody just needs to keep buying electric cars, and hopefully it'll set it all
totally.
Up, It was so nice meeting you. I always like meeting new friends.
Yeah, so nice
and,
to meet you, Zach. Let's stay in touch so I can pick your brain.
Hey, you know what? We'll exchange numbers, and anytime you want to reach out, anytime, anything I can do to help, I would love to. You're a vivacious, outgoing, energetic person, and I like I said, we smell our own, and
That's
I
right.
love that. I love that.
Thanks,
So
man.
please hit me up anytime.
Absolutely.
And guys, go out and check out. It's going to be the Black Tones, Surfboard, and Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. Hopefully this will air during that, not after, and pick up anything you see by the Black Tones.
That's so awesome. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Eva. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes.